Mensa Medical really focuses on biochemical individuality and biochemical balance. So each person has a particular chemistry, and you can check that chemistry and find out what is out of balance and then correct that. In doing so, you can very often correct things like attention deficit, anxiety, depression. But when you consider mainstream options, which actually really can and do work, and 50% of our patients do come to us on medication, it's an unnatural approach. We are naturally approaching how to get your system to do what it really needs to do. Many of our patients are looking for something. They still strive to feel happy or not anxious or not paranoid or have some diagnosis placed on them. And so when they're not doing well, they're seeking other sources. And so they have heard other people have come to Mensa Medical and actually gained their lives back. And we've spoken to many a primary care physician, psychiatrist, or whoever is the consultant for this patient as well. And as long as we can work together, the patient gets the best benefit from the two worlds of approach. We want to reach our patients conveniently. We do what we call outreaches. We're licensed in several states, and very often what we will do is go to that particular state and make it convenient for the patient to be interviewed in person. But now that we have the option of doing virtual visits, that is also something else that we do for those that cannot travel. They have some difficulties maybe bringing in children, or for whatever reasons there are, that it becomes much more convenient for them to do a virtual visit. Most patients don't start out with issues. Some do. This is a really big topic, depending on who you're talking about, what age are you talking about, kids versus adults. But most adults have and know what to feel good feels like at some point in time. They know what they feel or perceive as normalcy. And then very often something happens in their life and they start to realize this is not who I am or where I want to be. They find out about Mensa Medical, make an interview, and we see these patients. And over time, and I have to admit, this is not an overnight, oh, I can take my compounded nutrient supplements and then I'm going to be okay tomorrow. It's not like that. It takes a little bit of time. Many stories that we have are ones where, oh, I've lost my job. I had to drop out of school. I was too anxious. There were delusional times that were going on with me. This is not me. I really, really need to get back to who I am. Once they find out that they're moving in that direction, they become even more motivated to stay completely compliant and to move in a direction that puts them back into what you would call a mainstream world of functionality. They find themselves functioning back at a level that is totally and completely acceptable to them. There are no perfect people. And believe it or not, everybody walking on this planet not being perfect, if they could be or optimize who they are or borrow one from the Army, be all you can be, I think that's what we would choose to do. So whether it's just preventive maintenance, meaning just optimizing who you are and how you can function and have a higher quality of life, whether it's ADD, ADHD, autism, Alzheimer's disease, mental illness, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, whatever it is, we can check that biochemical individuality and try to provide what we believe would be best for you based on how you are tested. Well, we discovered compounding and its benefits many years ago, and I believe that's almost 20 years at this point. When you do any test, the idea is to find out what is the problem. But once you do find what the problem is, you need to approach it. And this is not rocket science. Someone who does not make insulin or whose insulin doesn't work well, guess what you have to do? Provide it what they need in order for them to function well. But there are many things that can be off. And so not just things like mainstream insulin or someone has a thyroid problem and needs thyroid hormone, but there are other things that if you test for and find are out of balance, you can correct those things by simply providing it. Some of the harms that come without lab testing, if you don't know the person's chemistry, how do you know how to approach what it is that they need? How do you manage them unless you constantly are checking to find out what their requirements are? There is no one size fits all. So what it is that's out of balance, along with how much that person needs to be managed by way of laboratory testing. What makes Mensa Medical different and special is the evidence-based practice that we have. There's no person on this planet that could not benefit from it. Since there's such biochemical individuality, anyone who would like to know really who they are or who wants to get broken down from a biochemical perspective can find out what that is, what that means, and how to live their best life from a quality standpoint and really add some longevity to it. Judith Bowman, MD, Mensa Medical, Lisle, Illinois.